You know what blows my mind? Almost half of American adults are walking around right now with a vitamin D deficiency. Like, literally, as I'm talking to you, 40% of people are deficient. And if you're Black or Hispanic, we're talking 82% and 69% respectively. That's not some small subset, that's millions of people. The crazy thing is, most of us have no idea. You feel a little tired, maybe run down, and you think it's just life, right? Meanwhile, your body is quietly starving for one of the most basic nutrients it needs to function.
I know what you're thinking when I say vitamin D. Bones, right? Yeah, it keeps your bones strong. But saying that's all it does is like saying your phone is just for making calls. Technically true, but you're missing about 99% of what it actually does. This stuff is working way down at your DNA level. Think of your DNA like shoelaces, and at the tips are those little plastic caps. Those are telomeres. Every time your cells divide, those caps get shorter. When they're gone, that's when aging really kicks in. Vitamin D, it's like having a repair crew constantly fixing those tips so your cellular shoelaces don't fall apart. This isn't some Instagram wellness trend. This is how your cells actually survive and repair themselves. But it goes deeper. Vitamin D has receptors scattered along your genes that decide which ones turn on and off. It's basically like a supervisor in your body's control room, flipping switches that tell your DNA what to do. When you're deficient, some really important genes, like the ones that fight cancer, don't work as well. That's how serious this is. So where do we get this stuff? Your body is supposed to make it from sunlight, specifically UVB rays. Your skin is basically a vitamin D factory. Problem is, for most people today, that factory has shut down. Picture this. Back in 1900 London, the smog was so thick you literally couldn't see your feet when you looked down. What happened? By the late 1800s, nearly 90% of kids in those cities had rickets, bones so soft they bent out of shape, because sunlight couldn't penetrate the pollution to help their skin make vitamin D.
Now, we don't have that kind of smog, but we're all living like it's permanently cloudy. We're inside all day staring at screens, and when we finally go outside, we slather on sunscreen that blocks 99% of the UVB rays we need. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying go fry yourself like a piece of bacon. There's a massive difference between smart sun exposure and turning yourself into a lobster. Your skin color makes a huge difference too. Darker skin has more melanin, which is incredible protection in places like Africa or the Caribbean. But take that same skin to Boston or London in winter. Suddenly, it's working against you. You need way more sun to make the same amount of vitamin D as someone with lighter skin.
Age hits you too. After 65, your skin naturally makes about half as much vitamin D as it did when you were younger. So even if you're still getting outside, you're producing less. And that adds up fast. This isn't just theory. Look at the 1918 Spanish flu. The deadliest wave hit in autumn when sunlight was dropping, and the worst outcomes were in big polluted cities like London, where people couldn't make vitamin D. Jump to a recent pandemic, and guess what? Populations with the lowest vitamin D levels had the worst outcomes. When researchers gave Black patients vitamin D supplements, their infection rates dropped almost 30% compared to 18% for white patients. That's huge, and it shows how much this one nutrient controls your immune system. Here's something else you probably don't know. When pollution blocks UVB, it also blocked infrared light. Infrared doesn't make vitamin D, but it has its own superpowers. It helps your cells repair, powers up your mitochondria, those are like tiny batteries in your cells, improves blood flow, and speeds up recovery. Athletes use infrared therapy to bounce back faster. It also helps you sleep better and reduces stress. The cool part is you can get infrared even in shade, sitting under a tree.
Alright, so what do you actually do about this? First, find out your levels. Seriously, in 2025, there's no excuse not to know this number. Ask your doctor, or just order the test yourself through a lab. Next, think about where you live. If you're above the 37th parallel, Boston, Chicago, New York, London, Toronto, during fall and winter, you're basically not making any vitamin D from the sun. The angle is too low. If that's you, supplements aren't a nice to have, they're essential. Supplementation isn't one size fits all though.
how much you need depends on where you're starting, your skin tone, your lifestyle. Most people need way more than those basic recommended doses to hit optimal levels. And here's something most people miss. If you're taking vitamin D, but your numbers aren't budging, you might be low in magnesium. Magnesium is like the key that activates vitamin D in your body. Without it, the supplement just sits there doing nothing. What frustrates me is we've known this stuff for over a century. But here we are in the middle of a deficiency epidemic. My grandfather's health issues could have been different. Those kids with rickets and love didn't have to suffer. The people who had worse outcomes in recent years, so many could have been helped with something as basic as optimizing vitamin D levels.
I'm not trying to scare you, and I'm definitely not pushing another miracle cure. This is bigger than that. We've created a world that cuts us off from something our bodies absolutely need. We're not just a little low, we're systematically starved. So, here's what I want you to do. Get your vitamin D level checked. Don't guess, get the actual number. If you live up north, have darker skin, or you're older, take supplementation seriously, especially in winter months. And when you can, get some safe sun exposure. For me, that's a daily walk when the UV index is low enough that I don't need sunscreen. Simple, but it works. Your DNA, immune system, mood, and bones are all depending on you to take this seriously. This isn't about preventing some old-timey disease. It's about letting your body work the way it's supposed to. Look, if this resonates with you, share with someone who needs to hear it. And if you've had your vitamin D tested, I'm genuinely curious what your number was. The goal isn't just avoiding disease, it's thriving. Making sure you're not running on empty with vitamin D, that's one of the easiest, most powerful things you can do for your health.